So, um, Vermont has a rapidly aging population, and over the last number of years, there have been attempts made in the legislature to put in bills to do exactly what you're talking about, as well as to cut down on taxing veteran pensions as well. And the $1 million question is, what is going to fill the hole in the budget when you've taken those taxes out? And that is a big reason why those bills haven't gone any further. They've died on impact. And that is certainly an important question to ask. And when you have holes in the budget, you can say that you're going to rearrange things to fill those holes, but we're just going to be stuck rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. So I think a really important part of answering that, and because I do think that's an important issue, people work their whole lives for their Social Security, and I think it's very important. I do senior advocacy. I was doing my Meals on Wheels route about 30 minutes ago, and I rushed to get back here in time to answer the questions for you. So I think an important thing that we have to do, and one of the main priorities that our legislature needs to have, is attracting young people and keeping young people in the state to try to build up the taxpayer base from the younger side of the spectrum, and not rely so heavily on Vermont's aging population. Because our population is only going to get older as time goes on. We're still seeing young people leave the state, and we're seeing the middle-aged middle class also leaving the state because of the property taxes and because of the clean heat standard and other things are making Vermont unaffordable. So if our policies can prioritize keeping young people in state and attracting new ones, that includes incentivizing amenities, bars, axe throwing, the things that young people like. As well as having affordable housing, as well as lowering the cost of living, and making sure that we have really good education. Those are the things that are going to keep young people in the state, and allow us to build up our businesses, allow us to build up our communities. So by doing that, we can fill the hole that removing the taxes from Social Security would create, while not just having to shuffle around the deck chairs on the Titanic.
So all summer and fall, I've had the privilege of connecting with Vermonters on front porches and at farmers markets and events and parades. And, one thing is clear. Too many of our friends and neighbors are struggling. Wages aren't keeping up with inflation. The cost of housing and healthcare and retirement are really hitting Vermonters hard. And I'm, committed to addressing affordability in Vermont. And I think one of the key ways that we can offer relief for seniors is to end the tax on Social Security income. We're one of only 9 states that still does that. And I have actually co-sponsored legislation in the past to eliminate the tax on Social Security income, and will continue to advocate for that if elected to the Senate. And as someone who served on House Ways and Means, the Finance Committee on the House side, I think I'm actually incredibly well positioned, if elected into the Senate, to potentially serve on Senate Finance, which would take up an issue like this. I have the relationships and the trust with colleagues, having already been in the building and worked to be able to hit the ground running to eliminate Social Security tax so that we can do more to ease the affordability challenges that seniors and retirees are facing, so that all Vermonters, especially those on fixed incomes, can thrive here in Vermont.
So I'm in full support of RCT. We have RCT buses up here, and having public transit available for seniors to be able to get to appointments, to be able to get to the hospitals, I think is very, very important. And I would support seeing that expanded. I know a number of members of the community that are not just seniors, but that are working class Vermonters that are just unable to have a car of their own for whatever reason, that are looking for that public transit. Members of our community with mental disabilities, autism, they're trying to get to services, but they're unable to drive a car for whatever reason, whether that's sensory issues or anything else. So expanding the public transit would allow everybody in our community, not just seniors, but especially seniors, to be able to get to appointments and get where they need to be. When it comes to bicycles and walkable areas, so sidewalks, the Northeast Kingdom, besides in some of our more densely populated towns and cities, sidewalks are obviously not going to work along the highway, but in areas where we can have sidewalks, I support grants to allow our communities to build out the sidewalks if they want to do that, if that's feasible. Because I want to allow seniors to be able to get out of their own volition and be able to ambulate around the community is in a way that they'd like to, in a way that's safe as well. I really want to highlight on the safety of seniors walking in communities. There's a senior that I know very, very well in Newport Center, and he likes to walk along the highway in front of his house and collect trash off the side of the roads. It's one thing that he does to keep the community beautiful and to keep himself busy. And I see him do that all the time, almost every time I drive by. And I'm always worried about the cars that are whizzing past him. What if he trips and falls into the road? So expanding walkable areas is definitely important to me. And I would support measures to see that a reality.
Making sure that our transportation system works for all Vermonters of all ages and income levels, especially those in our rural communities, is certainly a top priority for me. I've always supported and appreciated the grants that AARP offers small communities to have place-based conversations about how to increase access to all types of modalities of transportation, to give communities opportunities to test out things. And I would continue to advocate and support for programs like that, including the Better Connections grants that the state offers, which provide planning grants to communities to think about how we can make transportation solutions that work better for our communities, not only our cars, but bikes and walkable downtowns and villages. And we'll continue to advocate that we invest in those kind of planning grants to help communities have these conversations. We'll also continue to look to partners like RCT here up in the Kingdom, who's our primary nonprofit transportation provider, and doing everything we can to support innovation in our rural transportation providers. They are piloting, I think, a really innovative micro-transit kind of on-demand public transportation model, which I know can be, critical for seniors to grocery store, medical appointments, friends, family, that we need to be thinking out of the box to provide adequate resources and flexible funding to our transportation partners, especially in rural communities. And that includes really looking at our funding formulas to make sure that it's working for rural Vermont. So transportation is key to making sure that folks can age in place and in comfort in our communities. And I'll be a strong advocate to make sure that we're doing everything we can to meet seniors' needs in our communities.
So I'll preface my answer here with that as a candidate and in my campaign and as senator, I want Vermonters to live their lives the way they want to do them. Self-determination is a huge part of who I am as a person. The idea of freedom and liberty and being able to choose how you want to live your life is important. So if a senior does want to live in a senior assisted facility, if that's their choice, then I want them to be able to make that choice. But for those that want to remain in their communities, like my grandmother, who you'll have to pry her lovely home from her cold dead grasp, if she wants to stay there, I want to be able to enable that as best as we can, of course, with her living safely. So expanding housing, that's an issue that is impacting everybody of all the different age groups, and of course, socioeconomic status. And one of the proposals that I've been talking about, and I know the governor's talked about it as well, and several of the other members of the legislature, is repealing or reforming Act 250. And by doing so, we can enable more development, and we can provide encouragements and financial incentives to developers to be able to come in and build those affordable homes. And when I say affordable, I don't mean a house that's going to break down in a couple of years because it was built very shoddily with poor choice of materials. I'm talking about homes that are reasonable. They don't have a pool in the backyard. They don't have a bowling alley in the basement, but they are small homes that fit the needs of our seniors and young families as well, or young individuals as well, to get the affordable housing that's going to be safe, well built, is going to be Energy Star efficient, and enable people to stay in their communities, and that they don't have to go to costly care facilities that might be away from their community. And I'm also in favor of tax credits or property tax credits or other incentives to encourage young people and middle-aged people to take care of their parents and their grandparents in their own homes. to enable them to stay in the communities that they want to stay in. I think that's all goes back to self-determination and freedom as a senior citizen. And just because you're of a certain age doesn't mean that you should be restricted in your freedoms to live and act how you want to in your older years. So.
Yeah, housing is a critical issue for Vermont right now. We have a housing crisis affecting all ages, all income levels, all corners of the state, and to do more to ensure that everyone, regardless of age or income level, has access to stable and affordable housing. And so, we have some programs that are working, and I would want to continue to support and advocate for those programs, like the home repair program that's offered by nonprofit partners like Rural Edge, to make sure that seniors have access to the resources needed to modify homes, whether it's putting in ramps or guardrails, to make sure that our homes are safe and accessible. And to continue to support those community-based programs like Meals on Wheels that deliver food throughout our communities. I was at the table advocating for the increase that we were able to pass in previous sessions to make sure that those programs have the financial support that they need to be successful. I think it's also about continuing to invest in building more homes for all levels and needs across our communities, and tackling permit reform so that it is cheaper, easier, and faster to build housing that we need. And I think one last piece that I'd highlight is we need to stay focused on transforming our education finance system so that we are lowering the property tax burdens for everyone, especially those on fixed incomes. We need to stay focused on providing a high quality education for all kids at a price that Vermonters can afford. And so everything that we can do to reduce that property tax burden, back to the first question that we talked about, eliminating the tax on Social Security income, help our seniors and retirees, age in place and stay in our communities in a way that's affordable for them while we work to build additional housing to respond to the overwhelming demand that we have right now.
And I'll start my answer with that. I'm very, very happy that we have family caregivers like that. And I'll start my answer with that. I'm very, very happy that we have family caregivers like that. And that is the model that I would like to see the United States as, as a whole, in our society adopt, because, like I love my grandparents and I love my parents. And I know that, when they're in their older years, in the case of my parents, I want to be able to provide that live in structure if that's what they want. But not everybody's like me. Some people, not that they don't care about their parents, but they don't provide that for them. And as I said, I think in the last question here, I'm certainly in favor of property tax credits or other incentives. Doesn't have to be financial, to encourage people to keep their family members in their homes and to provide them some sort of reimbursement, or just give them something as a thank you for doing that for their families. Because if society isn't going to account for that, and if society is not going to have these norms built in place, then unfortunately, I think that's something that we're going to have to incentivize.
And I'm as a member of the sandwich generation, get the challenges that are facing our family caregivers, firsthand. I have, young kids who our family is caring for, and I have parents who have increasing needs that often puts, a real financial strain on families who are trying to balance their commitment to work and also show them caring for their families. And so, I have supported and advocated for expanding tax credits and providing subsidies to family caregivers to help reduce that financial strain that too many Vermonters are under right now. I also think that in addition to exploring paid family and medical leave programs, we need to be leveraging all of the federal programs to the maximum benefit, whether it's, better drawing down Medicaid and other federal program support, so that we're providing financial aid for all of our community-based programs and those folks who are doing the work on the ground for their families. I also think and often hear from folks that they have family members who would like to be in a long-term care facility, but especially our rural communities, we lack, available spots, and that we need to stay focused on fixing our broken long-term care system. And whether that's reevaluating, financial models, looking to reduce regulatory barriers and making sure that they're not overly burdensome for the small community-based facilities that really work for rural communities, so that we can tackle the long waiting lists and open up more slots for seniors within our community. So again, I think we need to be looking at innovative solutions to provide direct financial relief for folks who are providing caregiving for family members, doing more to draw down our federal resources, and ensuring that we're doing everything we can to support our small and vital long-term care facilities across the state, so that we're doing everything we can to support Vermonters' health and well-being now and into the future.